We're back. First ever 2-episode week.
Doubling it up, baby. Let's go.
Doubling it up. And we said on the last episode that we were going to do a draft that episode, Iceman this episode, no draft this one. We're kind of right, kind of definitely not right. We decided to do 2 drafts instead. So.
Yeah. Doubling it up. Doubled up.
But this episode is pretty much, we've got a few other things, like we said, 2 drafts, Iceman, but for the most part, is focused on the NFC, AFC Championship matchup, a little Championship Sunday preview and prediction, if you will. And before that, we have a new segment. We've been trying to workshop how to do headlines and things like that. So we're doing, drum roll.
Boom, 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 boom. The 2-minute drill. So we got 2 minutes to talk about each topic. We're going to throw little quick slants, get out of bounds, maybe spike the ball a couple times. Going to run through topics as quickly as we can, but we're still going to hit them well, you know?
Efficient.
Got to be efficient, fast, efficient. To win the game.
They're just headlines, whether it's around the league, off-season stuff, MLB stuff, whatever it is, just like sports headlines, and we're hitting them in 2 minutes or less. We're hitting each one in 2 minutes or less, not all of them.
You know, the important stuff. The 2-minute drill is all about efficiency, hitting the important passes, getting it done quick. That's what we're going for. All right, first topic on the 2-minute drill. We got John Harbaugh going to LA. Did not honestly see this one coming.
Really?
I kind of thought he was going to stay at Michigan just because of he just seemed to really be enjoying Michigan. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just...
You just love college ball.
I am a college ball guy, so...
But I feel like you've been seeing it more and more. I did see recently, though, I think it was on the Pat McAfee show, that apparently Pete Carroll had been like advocating for that job and pushing for it, which is interesting.
Like Pete Carroll wanted that job?
Yeah. I guess not advocating. Was pushing for that job.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, that's a hot job.
Yeah.
They got a lot of talent on that team. Kind of surprised at how bad they did this year. So John Harbaugh can come in, make a big difference.
Plus, he does a lot of good work with quarterbacks. Obviously, Herbert is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. So I think that part of it makes sense. Contract-wise, he was going to get $11.5 million at Michigan, which would have made him the highest paid college coach. I think it's speculated that it's a 5-year deal, reportedly $12.5 million a year. So that's gonna be a lot. Cons to it, the Chargers have cap trouble, as we know. So there is that piece of it. All in all, though, the pieces seem like they're there for this one.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a money move. I think overall, again, I do like college ball more than NFL. The Michigan fan base is dedicated, loyal, just won a national championship. You're going to LA where they can barely fill up a stadium for a Chargers game. So that's a big
but he had unfinished
difference.
Business in the league. Unfinished business in the league. Got to get that Super Bowl.
I guess, man. I hope the Chargers really get behind him because up until this point, it's been kind of sad how they can't pack out the stadium.
That's fair. He was also a San Diego Charger in Y2K. He was a quarterback there from 99 to 2000 on the roster.
I did not realize that. So, unfinished business, 2 different ways.
Reset the clock. Second topic up, the other coaching hires. The Raiders hired AP and Tom Telesco's the GM. Players were really vocal. They wanted him. He did a great job as an interim. Max Crosby was very vocal. I think they learned from the Rich Bisaccia mistake where they didn't listen to players, didn't work out. I think this one makes sense. There's nothing really to lose. And if you go another guy and it doesn't work out, I think that's a big loss.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the season, if the interim coach is coaching well, just stick with them.
Exactly. Next up, Patriots hired Gerard Mayo, internal position, the planned successor. That makes sense. Thought it was going to be Vrabel, but I guess no such thing. Next up, Titans hired Brian Callahan. Very different than Vrabel, but it could be a good fit. Bringing a little passing game to Tennessee could help develop Will Levis. Also, T. Higgins is a free agent in the year, so maybe he brings him with him, reunites with the other Clemson guy, D-Hop.
Yeah, it really seems like they're going all in on the passing game right now, especially with Derrick Henry probably leaving. Sounds like they're going all in on Will Levis, so we'll see how it goes.
And then next up, Panthers hired Dave Canales and have filled the GM position with Dan Morgan. 2 ways of looking at this one. 1, he's either stupid enough to take the Panthers job with Tepper, or 2, he's smart enough that he took a job where everyone knows that if it fails, it's Tepper, it's the organization. He's probably going to get paid a lot of money. Upside, obviously it works out. Downside, gets paid and no one really blames him.
Yeah, I don't really know a whole bunch about Dave Canales, but I do know a lot about Dan Morgan. Great player. Luke Kuechly before Luke Kuechly was Luke Kuechly. Excited for that, even though I'm not really a Panthers fan. Kind of still torn between whether I want the Panthers to succeed or not, but I think that probably is a good hire. All right, topic number 3, we got some head coaching vacancies in the NFL. The Commanders still have an open GM spot. which is interesting. Shout out, no more Dan Snyder in that area. The Falcons have a head coaching spot open. That's kind of an intriguing job. Maybe Bill Belichick potentially in that role.
Vrabel's even interviewing there.
Yeah, so we'll see. They have a lot of talent on that team. Hopefully the next coach uses Bijan in the correct way. The last one, Seahawks still open, which is also a pretty intriguing job. They have a very talented roster as well. I'm
curious about the Commanders, but Bill was obviously the most heavily rumored one going to the Falcons, but it seems like that's cooled off just a little bit. And then I had the thought, I haven't heard any rumors of this, but what if Vrabel went to the Seahawks, brings back the old defense, the Legion of Boom again?
Ooh, Legion of Boom was scary, man. Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman. I need to get back to that.
I don't know, because it's like if the Titans are moving towards the passing game, maybe the Seahawks are trying to move back to defense. Who knows? That was just the thought I had. I think Falcons makes more sense, but it makes sense for him and Bill, I guess, depending on which one gets it.
Right.
All right, reset the clock. Topic 4. We have a little drama in Dallas, perhaps. Also a little stuff going on in Philly. So on the Eagles side of it, I'll start with them. They're keeping Sirianni despite the Eagles' massive collapse. In fact, they are one of 2 teams that have started out 10-1 and ended the season with a negative point differential. The 86 Jets had -5, and the 23 Eagles now ended up with -18. And when they were 10-1, their point differential was second lowest of a team that started out 10-1 behind the 76 Raiders. In some ways, it felt like the Eagles lost their locker room, but Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce have come out in support of Sirianni. Eagles fans aren't happy about it, but they're never happy about anything. But they are replacing coordinators, and it looks like Vic Fangio is reported to become the new DC. On the Dallas side of things, though, the Cowboys have decided to stick with Mike McCarthy, and there seems to be some possible drama in Dallas, or better said, with the Dallas family members. And CeeDee Lamb's mother on X was saying, Dak isn't it. They need to get rid of him. It's the guys on the team that want a ring. They work so hard. He don't want a ring. Then Dak's brother was talking about how he wants Dak out of Dallas because of all the drama and the so-called fans. Micah Parsons' brother was criticizing Dan Quinn's defense and said, y'all going to miss him when he's gone, talking about Micah. So Micah is the only one who's responded to this so far, trying to distance himself a little bit. He was saying that his brother's comments are his own, and he's committed more than ever to bringing a championship to Dallas, but no word from CD or Dak yet.
Only got 10 seconds to go over this. Don't know how I feel about Vic Fangio going to Philly because I'm kind of mad he left the Dolphins. And then on the Dallas side of things, I think Dak just needs to get out. I think Dak's a good quarterback. Dallas just isn't the spot for him.
I think it'd be better for, I would say both people, but especially for Dak.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding. Right at 2 minutes. Let's go.
Love that.
All right. Reset the clock. Next topic. This one did not come down to the buzzer at all. Gamecocks upset the Kentucky Wildcats in Colonial Life Arena. Let's go. The biggest AP Top 10 win in South Carolina history. They won by 17 points. And the way they did it was just domination. 3-ball, going down low, dunking on people, passing the ball around.
Not turning the ball over.
Getting turnovers. Man, they just looked good. Looked like a good team. I'm excited for March. Got to make the tournament
Lamont
now.
is cooking down in Cola.
Lamont's cooking, man. I don't know how I felt about the hire initially. I just didn't know much about him. Sorry, I didn't know much about your game. But I'm all here for it now.
Dude, I'm all for that one. Love what's happening down there. Reset the clock because the next topic is Nick Dunlap won the AmEx tournament. He's now the first amateur to win a PGA tournament since Phil Mickelson did it in 1991. And at the age of 20, he was the youngest amateur.
Not undrafted.
To win a PGA Tour event since 1910. Who wasn't able to take home the cash prize of $1.5 million due to his amateur status, but has since decided to turn pro. And because of this win, he shot 29 under, and he skyrocketed up 4,061 places in the world ranking to 68.
4,000. You're telling me if you win a pro tournament as an amateur, you don't get paid?
You don't get paid. It passes down to the next person.
That's been my dream for the longest time. Just enter something, win, get paid. But now I guess I got to go pro first.
It's crazy.
Man, that's tough. That's real tough.
It's crazy.
All right, next up on the clock, last one here. We got Joel Embiid putting up 70 points against the Spurs. He's only the 9th player in history to ever score 70 points, and he did it in the second fewest minutes ever for 70 points at 37 minutes.
I think the most fewest.
Yeah, I stand corrected. The fewest minutes to ever get 70 points, which is kind of wild. Oddly enough, on the same day, 18 years ago, January 22nd, Kobe hit 81 on that day. So pretty big day to hit some big points.
Does that mean that we need to be keeping an eye out January 22nd in 18 years for the next one?
Ooh, we might need to. 2032. Got to keep an
That
eye
might be
on
the
it.
next 100-point game coming in. Just throwing that out there.
Might be. He's also only the third 7-footer to put up 70, which out of 9 people, 3 of them being 7-footers, I think that says something.
770 makes sense.
770. 76ers beat the Spurs 133 to 123 in this game. So he got more than half of his team's points. That's fun.
That is fun.
That's big fun.
All right, that was the first 2-minute drill.
First 2-minute drill, and that one in
Maybe
itself.
one day we'll try to hit all of them in under 2 minutes. That feels crazy. Just like if there's a week. It's WEAKEEK. See what I did there?
Ooh, alliteration.
And so that was what's happening in the world of sports right now, besides Championship Sunday coming up. And so we're going to take a quick look, not a quick look, probably 10 to 15 minutes, honestly, at each one of the games, starting with the AFC Championship, because that's what's up first. And so the Chiefs are heading into their sixth straight AFC Championship under Patrick Mahomes. We talked about that last week. It's their first one on the road, though, and they are 3-2 all time under Patrick Mahomes with it. Baltimore is hosting their first one, though, since 1971.
6 in a row is crazy. First on the road is also crazy in that 6 span.
5 in a row at home is crazy.
And now Patrick Mahomes is 1-0 on the road in the playoffs. So he's never lost on the road in the playoffs. So that's got to be
So maybe
something.
the only thing better than home playoff Pat is away playoff Pat.
He's going to have some fire lit under him, I think.
Which is not what the world needs.
You do not need that.
But okay, so we will jump in. We're going to do weather report, weatherman coming in here, injury report, and then we've got some key matchups on the game, other random thoughts coming from that. And so to start it off, kickoff is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Baltimore, and it's supposed to be 44 degrees and a 94% chance of rain that's expected to last the whole game with 10 to 14 miles per hour winds.
That does not bode well for a close game. Like, if it is a close game and it comes down to a kick, that's not what you want at the end with 10 to 14 miles an hour.
Dude, kicks and passing might be rough. But, I mean, obviously, Harrison Butker's no chump. And then Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker. So that does kind of counter the conditions a little bit.
Yeah, Harrison Butker's kind of like known to be the cold weather, bad weather kicking guy for whatever reason.
Behind Vinatieri.
Yeah, Vinatieri's probably the GOAT of that.
Everyone thinks about the snow game, the snow kick.
And Justin Tucker's probably the GOAT of kicking in general,
Is
which we
he?
may
I
have
don't
to
know.
talk about later on the pod.
When one of them is special teams, the other one's going to be O-line. But injuries, speaking of O-line, the Chiefs are definitely banged up going in this game. Joe Thuney, he did not practice Wednesday with his pec injury. He's listed right now as questionable. Trey Smith is also questionable. His is due to illness, and so he also didn't practice yesterday. So that's like their line injuries. Nadi is questionable also, didn't practice with his tricep injury. Mike Edwards, the safety's out with concussion, didn't practice. Still questionable, though. Willie Gay, also questionable. He had a limited practice on Wednesday. L'Jarius Sneed, also limited practice with his calf injury. And then Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, MVS, they all were in full practice, but banged up with respective hamstring, hip, and oblique injuries.
Don't forget Tony's hand injury. Affliction, maybe. He might be better not playing, honestly. Or he could be your motion guy. Just scary.
I mean, he's so athletic, so it's always a danger there.
It's so
But
sad.
It is so sad. It's like, if I had everything you had and it was just catching, that would be wonderful. So then the Ravens side of things, definitely looking better than the Chiefs, not as banged up. Mark Andrews is expected to be back today, or back for the game, which is awesome. He was in full practice yesterday. He was obviously activated off the IR before the game last week, but didn't play. So that's exciting for them.
That's huge for
Marlon
them.
Humphrey, huge for them. Yeah, it's not just exciting, that's huge.
Yeah.
Isaiah Likely's been playing great too, but Mark Andrews will be big to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Then Marlon Humphrey, the cornerback, he was limited in practice with his calf injury. And then he's also listed as questionable. And then Traylon Wallace is also questionable going in the game with his knee injury, and he didn't practice yesterday. So it's definitely a lot better for the Ravens than it is for the Chiefs.
And that's the beauty of a bye. They had time to let people heal. Man, having Mark Andrews back is huge. That was Lamar's favorite target for the longest time. Then you get Marlon Humphrey back too. Yeah, that's looking pretty good for the Ravens, and not a whole bunch of other hurt people. So
key matchups. Let's jump in straight with that. Since we were talking about tight ends, obviously it's going to be interesting to see how Mark Andrews hops back in. It's definitely not a just immediate performance when you haven't played for most of the season. But from the other side of it, I'm interested to see Kelsey. Mostly because last week was awesome, but the Bills were decimated with injuries, especially in linebackers. And so you're going against a very different Ravens linebacker core. Does Kelsey still have a big game? Do people like Roquan Smith on your team for the dream team?
Right. I also have Kelsey though. So I think the fact that I drafted Kelsey in the fantasy draft or in the in the ultimate team draft, he's going to play well this week. You can count him for at least 1 touchdown, probably 2, and he's going to show out this week, man. He's just a playoff guy.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
That's probably the most in-depth analysis you're ever going to get. Because Allen drafted him, he's going to go.
Up to this point, it's worked. So
it's gonna.
Not only that, playoffs, man, Kelsey shows up. When's the last time Kelsey had less than 50 yards receiving in a playoff game?
No, it's true.
I don't know if he ever has. Him and Patrick Mahomes have the record for most quarterback receiver touchdowns in the playoffs. So
is Jason Kelsey going to be there without a shirt on, chugging?
That's a game changer. And yes, I think he probably will be. You got to factor that in.
Yeah, everyone talks about the Taylor Swift boost. We're here to say, yeah, that's a good boost, but the Jason Kelsey boost might be even more. You put them in tandem.
I think it's more like Jason Kelsey boosts out of Taylor Swift's that she's been dragging Travis down. Yeah, I'm going with Taylor. Travis kind of dipped. With Jason, he's back up.
Any Swifties that have listened to this podcast or listen to this podcast, just unleash on Allen.
Bring it.
Let him have
I'm
it.
A huge John Mayer fan.
I like them both. We don't have to go there.
I like him. I like her too. You know.
I'm going to save you from any words that you're going to regret or people are going to make you regret by talking about Taylor Swift.
That's okay. Bring the heat. But we'll jump into the next one anyway. So I'm excited to see the Ravens pass rush versus the Chiefs pass block. I think it does hurt, obviously hurts a good bit if Joe Thuney doesn't play. So watching out for that.
The injuries are big. Also, fun, interesting tidbit. The PFF grade for the Ravens pass rush is 6th in the league, and the Chiefs pass block is also 6th in the league. So it's pretty much strength on strength going into this game.
We'll tie it up.
It'll be interesting to see who wins. Can the Ravens get pressure on Patrick Mahomes without having to blitz? Because we know that if you blitz against him, he tears it up.
Yeah. I think unfortunately for the Ravens, even if you do get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, he's so good at scrambling and just making things happen. Your cornerbacks really have to be locked down because even if you get pressure, he's going to have extra time either way.
The next 2 matchups that I have on this list are probably what's going to determine the game the most. And the first one of it is what you were just saying. It's going to be the Ravens pass coverage versus playoff pat. It's like throw off the regular season, throw out everything that we know about the Chiefs in 2023. It's the playoffs now. And then so you've got Patrick Mahomes doing his thing, improvising, making plays against an elite second in the league pass coverage in the Ravens. It's strength on strength again.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's the playoffs now. And it almost feels reminiscent of talking about Brady in the playoffs, unfortunately. But if Brady could run, if Brady could scramble. Yeah. So he just has that extra dimension to his game. Like I was saying, you got to cover for just so much longer than for like a quarterback like Brady because he can scramble.
Just keep extending the plays.
Yeah. So that's a super intriguing matchup. Obviously, that is going to be a huge part of the game there.
The one thing we've been glazing playoff Pat, but in all seriousness, Patrick Mahomes is incredible in the playoffs. But if we're objectively looking at the 2023 season playoffs, you going against a Dolphins squad that we talked about was decimated by injuries. They were literally picking up defensive linemen, edges at the end of the season just off the streets.
Yeah, we all know the Dolphins were better. If they weren't injured.
But the injuries.
Right.
If they weren't injured, they would probably be going to the Super Bowl and probably win.
Oh, yeah.
But then also the Bills, decimated by injuries. They were down to 4 linebackers before the game, and one of them got hurt and was still forced to play. So there is a small asterisk. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has earned everything that people are saying about him in the playoffs. But are the Chiefs really back? Because last week we were saying they looked like old form Chiefs. Are they really back, or have they just been playing injured teams?
That is a very good point. I think it's probably a little bit of both. What do you think?
I think it definitely is both, which the final thought for me on this game, we've got some more matchups to get into, but it almost feels like both teams are inevitable. You know what I mean? But like something has to give going into this one. The Ravens have been dominant. I remember early on in the season, I was talking about how it felt like all the pieces were there for the Ravens. They just didn't quite step on a team and just dominate them, demolish them, put them away when they had them up. And then a couple weeks after I started saying that, they started doing that. And then from that point on, the Ravens have been dominant. Obviously, we saw on Christmas what they did against the 49ers. So they're dominant. There's a determination with Lamar Jackson in this playoffs, which feels scary for anyone playing. And then there's playoff Pat.
Yeah. I think the way both of them ended the season, the Ravens were just, like you're saying, just dominant. They were stepping on people's necks. The Chiefs were like scrambling to get a spot in the playoff, to get a good spot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think carrying over that, you gotta think maybe Ravens, but again, last couple weeks, Chiefs are kind of rolling.
It's just hard to go against them. But so then that's to the question we were just talking about. How much of it is the Chiefs being back, and how much of it is the teams they were playing being injured and beat up? And I think it's a both and.
I think I'm going 70% Chiefs back, 30% injuries.
Oh, we're going percentage.
Yeah, what do you got?
In that
what
case,
do you got percentage-wise?
I'm going to hit a 63% Chiefs back.
Ooh. Dive a little further into why 63.
Just felt like a number that if I say it, it makes it seem like I've thought through it more than I did.
Oh, yeah. I like your number.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, next matchup to be looking out for is the run game from both sides of it. Last week, Josh Allen put up 72 rushing yards against the Chiefs, and then you've got Lamar Jackson. Now, like if Josh Allen's doing that, great runner, but Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, electric ground game for Lamar Jackson, obviously. Not to be slept on, though, the Chiefs' ground game with Pacheco. Pacheco's been tearing it up on the ground. Been reading all these tweets about Pacheco looks like he bite people when he runs, or like a kid that's trying on new shoes when he runs, but because he's got that just aggressive running style. But dude's coming to get you when he runs. Like he wants to run you over.
I listened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire talking about it earlier, and he was like, he runs. I hear all the memes and things. He's like, he runs so angry, but he's the happiest dude you're ever gonna be around.
Yeah, I watched a video of them showing him like the tweets about him. He thought they were hilarious.
He is also banged up going into this game. So he has the ankle toe injury and didn't practice on Wednesday. He's questionable. He's definitely, he's probably going to play, most likely going to play. But will he be 100%? I'm not sure. And then to play the other side of the equation, the Ravens defense is elite, but their run defense is probably their weakness. They're rated 13th. So it's obviously not like a bad defense, but pass defense is too. Being able to run and establish that will go a long way to helping the Chiefs' case in this game.
I think the pivotal player in this game is Roquan Smith. I think, he's going to be huge in stopping the run game for both Pacheco, and he's going to be on Mahomes a lot as well, theoretically. I mean, that's what I would do.
Plus, Kelsey coming through there could be picking him up on different parts.
Yeah.
I would say the linebacker core as a whole for the Ravens are going to be huge in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I like the matchups more for the Ravens in this game. I think on paper, the way they played all year, the way that they even just rolled the Texans last week, they're definitely favorable for the Ravens in this game. But at the same time, you can't rule out the Chiefs. The ability that Patrick Mahomes has to extend a play, like we said, they have great coverage, but if you add 4 seconds before you make a pass, that's a lot harder to lock someone down for 4 more seconds.
Absolutely.
So there's that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the matchups are definitely favorable for the Ravens.
The last matchup, if you will, that's interesting is the halftime adjustments. If you look at it, the Chiefs, they made good adjustments on defense against the Bills last week. They started shutting down the run a lot more. The Ravens also made some good halftime adjustments against the Texans because it was 10-10 going into half, and they end up putting 24 points in the second half, winning 34-10. Baltimore is also averaging 13.3 points per game in the second half on offense, which is second in the league. Kansas City is first in the league with allowing 7 points per game in the second half.
Ooh, that is big time. Interesting that Kansas City's defense seems to be like their strength at the moment.
It really is interesting.
In terms of that. Yeah. With Patrick, obviously, it's huge for him to have a good defense behind him. Again, kind of reminiscent of Brady's playoff runs. So we'll see.
It is very, very similar, which is unfortunate for anyone who's not a Chiefs fan. But also, in some ways, the league needs a villain. They need a dynasty to fight against. So I don't fully hate it, I guess.
I kind of like it.
I respect it. I don't like it, but I respect it. We will save our actual picks for a segment in a few minutes after we go into the NFC Championship. But as a whole, these are kind of like the things that I would be watching out for. I think that the run game, to me, is going to be huge for the Chiefs. I think in a lot of ways, this is strength on strength that's going to be matching up. But especially with the wind, the rain, the temperature, it's going to be huge to see, can the Chiefs get a solid run game so it's not forcing Patrick Mahomes to be Superman the whole game.
Right. I think it boils down to both teams have a good defense. Ravens obviously have a good offense. The Chiefs have the potential to have a very good offense.
They have a good playoff offense.
They have a good playoff offense past 2 weeks. So definitely strength on strength. Just good teams all around. Should be super interesting.
Then let's move on to the NFC Championship. We have the Lions, one game away from the Super Bowl. They would be their first Super Bowl ever.
Oh, boy.
They are one of 4 teams to have never played in the Super Bowl. Includes the Browns, Lions, Texans, Jags. And they're one of only 2 historic teams, them and the Browns, that have never played in the Super Bowl. And then on the other side of things, the Niners are in their fourth NFC Championship out of the last 5 years. They are 1-2 in those 3 games.
All of America is pulling for the Lions in this game, including Joe. All of America wants the Lions
Niners
to do well.
all the way.
You've never made it to a Super Bowl, man. You gotta pull.
That's
for the
great.
team.
They'll do it another year. They're doing a great rebuild. I would say.
Oh, this is a rebuild year.
No, I'm saying they've done a great rebuild, so they're gonna be here for a little bit. Because if I heard someone say this, so this isn't my own, but they're one of the few teams that have done it without a quarterback change, without like building around a quarterback. Because if you look at it, Matthew Stafford was there forever before. Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff, I would say, is definitely favorable in the Matthew Stafford side of things. That's what the Rams did. But that aside, even if you call it a lateral move, they're not building around a quarterback. They've built all these other pieces, built a great line. They've built a great running game. So I think they're going to be here to stay. And so because of that, they can go another year. This is the Niners.
That's interesting. This is 2 teams now in the NFC Championship game that did not build around a quarterback. Is that the way to go? I think it might be.
Well, because how often do you just get a Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, sure. If I can get a Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to rebuild around that. If I can get a Brady, I'm going to rebuild around that. Even Brady, though, what made him so great is that he would take less money to have more talent around him.
Yeah, not a lot of people are willing to do that. You got to be really dedicated to winning to do that.
But this game, it is 74 degrees, clear skies, slight and variable winds in Santa Clara at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time when this is supposed to kick off. So that's looking good for Brock Purdy.
Especially if it comes down to a rookie kicker. Injury
report, the big one in question for the Niners is obviously Debo. He's been 50-50 most of the week. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Nothing's broken, but he's in still obviously some pain. I think it's leaning slightly towards playing, but at the same time, at what percent? What will he be able to do?
Is it an AC joint injury, or do you know exactly what it is?
I don't know exactly what it was. That was what was speculated at first. I haven't seen either way on that. I know that when he was out with a similar injury to the same shoulder the couple of weeks earlier in the season when they lost to the Browns, he had broken something in his shoulder. So there was actually a broken bone in there. And this time there's nothing broken. It's just the pain there.
You think it's smoke and mirrors, though?
Are you saying that is it actually broken?
Yeah, like what if they're saying that it's broken or that it's not broken, but it actually is, just to make the Lions think he has a chance of playing?
I don't know if you can do that because they're so strict on any kind of injury report with betting, with everything else there.
Yeah, I guess you probably would.
I don't think that you can fake that, but
I know in college they do it.
Is the whole league rigged anyway?
Yeah, is the whole league rigged? I don't know, man. The colors, if the colors ring true, I don't know what else to say.
I don't know. Dre Greenlaw, he obviously was in full practice, played last week, but he still has that a little bit nagging Achilles injury. But he should be playing, should be good. Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, they were both not practicing yesterday, but it was just no injury, not injury-related rest. On the other side of things, there's a few more injuries on the Lions side, potentially very costly. Frank Ragnow has obviously been out a lot of the season. He's questionable with his ankle toe, so that'll be an interesting one. Jonah Jackson is doubtful, the left guard. So we will talk about how strong the Lions' offensive line is, but that could be a big injury. Josh Reynolds is questionable. He was limited in practice yesterday with his ribs. And then Sam Laporta, he didn't practice. Obviously had that knee injury in week 18, played the last couple weeks.
Laporta will be back though, right?
Yeah, so he should. I mean, it's listed as questionable, but he should be playing.
Yeah.
Same with Josh Reynolds.
That's huge for the Lions. Got to have Laporta in there. First matchup, got to go with Christian McCaffrey, probably the most impact player on the field. Can the Lions do anything with McCaffrey?
He's going to have a good game, I think. The question is, can they limit how good of a game he has? And then, obviously, we just talked about injury report. Is Debo in there as well? Are you having to worry about him lining up at running back and McCaffrey going wide and everything back and forth? I think you can count on around 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown from Christian McCaffrey going in this game.
That's probably fair.
I would be very surprised, give or take a little bit, if that doesn't happen. The question is, can you have him one touchdown instead of two touchdowns? Can you keep him at 100 instead of 150? That's going to be the key for this matchup from the Lions side of things, I would say.
Yeah, I think the Lions are almost going to have to stack the box and just sell out to stop the run here and, blitz some on Purdy, make Purdy beat you with pressure. Because you don't want to let Christian McCaffrey just run all over you all game, because if you don't stack the box against him, he's going to get in space, and that's super dangerous.
That's true, but then the flip side of it, if you're stacking the box and you're blitzing, Purdy's very good against the blitz. He averages quick throws. He makes good decisions. He's also able to evade pressure and extend the play. So if you're doing that, and maybe what you're saying is if you're on the Lions side of it, you've got to make Brock Purdy beat you.
I think, do you make Christian McCaffrey beat you, or do you make Brock Purdy beat you? I think you got to take blitz and Purdy. Especially if Debo is hurt, because if Debo's hurt, that limits the passing game that much more. And we've seen, not to put too much heat on Brock Purdy, but we saw in those games, that 3-game stretch in the middle of the year when Debo was out and Purdy kind of struggled a little bit. Does that happen again?
So then the other side, like the next matchup really is Brock Purdy versus Jared Goff. I think that we've seen Brock Purdy have a bad stretch or playing like in the rain and stuff. Jared Goff had a bad stretch during this year, but for most of this season, both of them have played exceptional. In this playoffs, Brock Purdy didn't play great, but stepped up when it mattered most. Jared Goff hasn't thrown an interception yet. I think that will be a very exciting matchup to see. Are they on par? Does one quarterback outplay the other one? How does it work from there?
Yeah, I think the running game does maybe open up the field a little bit more for Purdy. If the Lions can get their running game going, maybe that happens for Goff as well. It will be a super interesting quarterback matchup. Both of these offenses are so prolific. Could be a high-scoring game.
I think it will be a high-scoring game. In fact, I think that the 49ers are going to score. I think we know that their offense is good. I think that they're going to probably put up 25, 30 points, something like that. We know the Lions are also good. The question then becomes, can the Lions put up 30 and beat them? I think that's what it's going to take for the most part.
Kind of similar to the Ravens-Chiefs game. I think both teams have a good offense, and San Francisco has a good defense. How well can the Lions defense play against San Francisco's offense?
You're saying like the same with it, just inverse. It's like we're talking about two good defenses in the other game. Ravens good offense, and then Patrick Mahomes, and in this one, vice versa.
Right.
I would say, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think the run, you just mentioned it, that's going to be another really interesting matchup in this game. The Lions, more likely than not, their offense is going to win because of the pass and the run. However, you can't be one-dimensional against the 49ers. So last week, the Niners didn't do a great job against the run.
Yeah, they didn't do super great against the run. Aaron Jones kind of had his way with them last week.
Well, and adding to that, Greg Olsen in the broadcast, he did a great job of highlighting that the Niners defense has been highly rated all year. they've been number one in yards allowed, rushing yards allowed. But if you look at it, a lot of that's because of volume. When you're winning most of the season, teams aren't running against you. And so if you look at the yards per attempt, they actually weren't doing as well. In fact, if we look at the PFF grade for it, they're 10th in the league on run defense, which is still good, but it's definitely not the same picture that the stats are painting.
That is interesting. They do have some run stoppers there, though, man. Like Fred Warner, big run stopper, just all over the field. It'll be interesting to see him versus Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is quick, man. If he gets going like he did last week.
Interesting to see him versus Gibbs. Also, him and Dre, Fred and Dre, what a duo name.
That is a big duo linebacker name. Studs.
But Fred and Dre versus Sam Laporta, too. So can they shut him down? That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then the other part of this run and pass, really, we've got the Lions O-line is by far their strength. They've been building that. They've been looking really good. They have injuries now, but their offensive line is very good. And then the 49ers throw last week out. They have an incredibly talented defensive line, and their D-line is one of their strengths. So that's like another big matchup. We're talking about the run and pass on it that matters a lot going into this game.
Yeah, that might be the biggest matchup in the game aside from the Lions trying to stop McCaffrey. If the Lions can give Jared Goff time, I think he can distribute the ball well enough to keep up potentially with the 49ers offense. But that's a big if. Penei Sewell is blocking Nick Bosa, though, which I think he might be able to, I'm not going to say shut him down. I think he'll limit him a lot more than other tackles would.
Right. If you look at the Eagles game this year, Lane Johnson, I would say, won that matchup for the most part. And so is that going to happen again in this game?
Yeah, Penei Sewell was good,
sure.
man. He was one of the highest rated tackles in football this year.
He's definitely one of the best. I would say that him and Lane Johnson are the best right tackles.
Yeah.
And so that'll be an interesting matchup. We were saying this a ton in the last game, but the O-line versus D-line here for the Lions and the 49ers really does feel like strength on strength.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The Lions have kind of like built their team almost around the strength of their O-line. They've used a lot of high draft picks on O-linemen, really been selling out for that. So it really does seem like strength on strength.
And then from the 49ers side of it, last week didn't look good, but how much of that was a little bit of rust? Obviously, it's worth it to have health. Also in the rain, they shouldn't have had issues with it. It's in Santa Clara. It's their own field. It rains there sometimes. But they were slipping, especially the DBs were. I'm sure that affected the D-line. They probably got less traction. And then Eric Armstead was back, but he'd been out for, I think, 6 games with an injury. And your first game back, you still got to feel it out a little bit. You don't just jump back in at 100% productivity again.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. The wet field also does affect the offensive line, though. So, I don't know. I feel like you're in the trenches. You got to get over that. But it certainly could make a difference.
That is true. It definitely works both ways there. And the Packers O-line handled it pretty well.
Right.
So, very well, I would say. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep your eyes on, the O-line versus D-line for the 49ers. And then another matchup that's pretty fun in this game is Dan Campbell and Kyle Shanahan.
Dan,
aggressive
man.
Dan versus scared Shan.
Unfortunately,
he's been...
Yeah. Dan is the go win the game guy. Kyle Shanahan is please don't let me lose guy at the end of the game.
No, he's like try to get a lead and then hope that works really well. He's way more conservative. We saw that last
please don't
week
lose the
before
game.
halftime. I know. I'm just trying to make it sound better.
I know you are. But on this pod, we've had a continual thing going with, what's the saying we've said before? God.
Playing to not lose the game.
Playing to not lose the game. Do not do that. Dan Campbell is the king of just going and being like, we're putting all our eggs here. We're going to either win or lose. Die by the sword.
2-point conversion from the 7-yard line, Dan, to win the game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they didn't win that one. That was maybe a little overkill. But
to win the game.
Yeah. If the game is close, that's going to be super interesting at the end of the game there to see how each coach handles it.
I agree with that. I think it'll be a good matchup.
And to see Joe squirm.
Dude, you're just trying to put some heat on me right now, make me sweat a little bit. I don't love it.
Just a little bit. It might not be a close game. Who knows?
It might not be. It could, obviously, like it could be a blowout for the 49ers. I'm not just saying that because I'm a 49ers fan. The Lions aren't going to blow the 49ers out. They're not going to blow them out.
I don't think so.
They're not going to blow them out.
I doubt it. Could it happen?
There's like a 1% chance that
All right, scenario.
the Lions blow the 49ers.
Scenario. The Niners have a game against the Lions like they had against the Ravens.
They can't.
Why not?
The Lions defense is nowhere in the stratosphere of the Ravens defense, so they can't lock them down in the same way.
All right, Purdy has a couple picks off people's hands. He plays a decent game, throws a couple picks, game turns around.
I still think they drive down and score. I don't see a game where the Niners offense gets shut out.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless Brock Purdy gets hurt, like he did in the NFC Championship last week. Sam Darnold comes in and also gets hurt, like the backup in the NFC Championship did last year. That's the one scenario they get blown out. And in this case, they practice, and Christian McCaffrey knows how to come in at quarterback.
If Brock Purdy got hurt and Sam Darnold came in first drive, would you still say the same thing?
Yeah, I don't think that the Niners are getting blown out. I don't think the Lions are getting blown out, but I think that that's it seems more possible that the Lions get blown out.
I agree. It seems more possible. You just said it's impossible for the Niners to get blown out.
I said it's not going to happen.
You made it sound like it's impossible. It's not impossible.
It's basically impossible, barring crazy circumstances. Please. Dude, I don't like this. I don't like this coming from you.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Well,
I'm just letting you know that it's possible. That the Lions
just wanted to make me sweat, make me squirm.
Just a little.
We started with it, ending with it. We're talking about the matchups. I think the important thing to watch is, can the Lions put up 30 or more points? I mean, I think there's a good chance that the Niners also put up 30. It could be a good game there. Don't hate the over. I think we'll get into it next segment. It's 51.5, I believe. Mm. But I think that that's going to be the main key to success from the Lions. Because as I just mentioned in our argument there, I don't know if the Lions defense are going to shut the 49ers down. I would see that very unlikely to happen.
I would be surprised with that as well. What do you consider a blowout?
3 touchdowns plus.
Okay. Just curious. I'm excited for our picks.
I'm excited for them. Let's just go ahead and jump into that.
Let's jump into them.
Game 1, like I said, AFC Championship, Chiefs at Ravens, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on CBS. The spread is Baltimore 3.5. Total points 44.5. Money line would be plus 165 for the Chiefs and minus 199 for the Ravens. Couple fun facts for you. The Chiefs are 10-1 as road underdogs under Andy Reid, and the Ravens are 14-7 at the spread in the playoffs under John Harbaugh. So that does nothing for either one of us because both of those stats have the exact same percentage.
Yep, that doesn't help a whole bunch. Who's picking first in this?
You got it.
We've been saying you can't count the Chiefs out. You can't count Patrick Mahomes out. But this is the time to do it. Ravens are taking this game at home. Ravens have been waiting for this all year. Good team, both offense and defense. I think that's the difference. I think the Chiefs have a good defense. The Chiefs have a above average offense, but I think the Ravens have a good offense and a good defense. I think they win this game because of that.
I would not say it as confidently as you did. I would say that last week they made me eat my words. I was slightly more than 50% for the Bills. I'd say 55, 60% in favor of the Bills. And the Chiefs did it. So it's almost like you should give a little bit more credit to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs than you think. And if it wasn't for that, I would say it's a no-brainer Ravens. So because it's that, I think you're right, though. I think that the Chiefs are going to make it close. I think they're going to make it a good game and scary. But the Ravens are just so much better. Take Patrick Mahomes' little X factor out of the equation. They're so much better in every single area than the Chiefs are. And so factor that back in. I think that makes it a close game, but I still feel like the matchups are better for the Ravens.
I think the true colors show in this game for the teams that have been playing all year. And like we talked about earlier, the Chiefs just beat up on 2 pretty injured teams, not taken away from what the Chiefs did. I think they played really good games, but like we're saying, the Dolphins basically had people off the street playing linebacker and D-line. The Bills had a bunch of injuries at linebacker. The Ravens have Roquan Smith. Mm-hmm. Big difference. Huge difference. I think that's the difference maker.
It's a good point. So then NFC Championship, Lions at 49ers, 6:30 p.m. on Fox. The spread is San Francisco -7, total points 51.5. Money line, San Francisco would be -345. Lions +271. The 2 fun facts for it: the Lions are 3-1 at the spread at the spread as betting underdogs this season. And the 49ers are 2-2 at the spread as favorites of 7+ this season.
How does that make you feel?
It would make me nervous if we were talking about the spread, maybe.
Right.
But it's a 7-point spread. Both of these, interestingly enough, the money line has moved in favor of the favorites over the week. Not a lot, but a little bit shifted that way. I would say.
The spread is 7.
Do you want to pick this first, or you want me to pick this first?
I'll pick it first.
All right.
So, both sides of the ball, the better team is probably the Niners. Christian McCaffrey, absolute game changer. The Niners D-line, the Niners defense is obviously better than the Lions. So, based on that, we got to go with heart, man. Dan Campbell is going to get the Lions playing. They've been rolling. Second ever NFC Championship game. They're taking this thing to the Super Bowl, man. They're going to come in to Levi Stadium, and they're going to get work done. The Lions offense is going to roll. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think it comes down to Dan Campbell go win the game. Kyle Shanahan plays a little conservative, and the Lions take it. Maybe a little bit of wishful thinking.
I didn't bite one bit on that because I knew exactly that you were going to do a little bait and switch for me.
Oh, yeah.
Try to play with my emotions, so I didn't fall for that.
That's okay. You don't have to.
If we're talking spread, it would be more in question for me. 7's a lot. But, I mean, obviously I'm rolling with the Niners. That's heart and that's brain in this. I think, yes, I'm a little bit nervous, but I think Brock Purdy's going to have a great game. I hope Debo's playing and out there, but even if not, they're game planning this week to play without him. McCaffrey, he's going to go off. The Niners are going to score points. The Lions aren't going to stop the Niners. The Niners will stop the Lions some, and that alone is going to be a W. But I would almost go San Francisco covering the spread. But we're not even going to go there. We're just going to stick with.
Man, the Lions defense didn't look too bad the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. I know they're not like a high-powered defense like the Niners, but they held their own against, I know it was the Bucks, but the Rams have a high-powered offense, and they held their own there.
It's like, if you go matchup by matchup, it's like quarterback. I'll take the Niners fan hat off. Quarterback, Goff, Brock Purdy. Let's give it a tie. Let's call it a wash.
Okay.
Line, O-line versus O-line. It's close,
Lions.
but I would say the Lions O-line wins. Left side, Trent Williams, obviously. But like other than that, Lions O-line. I'll even give receivers to the Lions saying Debo's out. If Debo's in, it goes Niners. But we'll say that he's out.
Agreed.
We'll give that to the Lions. Running back, I mean, you've got the combo on the Lions side, but it's not Christian McCaffrey.
Right. Still not shabby,
So
though.
we'll just call the offense a wash.
Right.
Other side of the ball, D-line, you go Niners. Linebackers, you go Niners. Secondary, you go Niners.
The entire Niners defense is better.
Right, and so that's my thing. It's like if the offenses are washed and one defense is good and one's going to give up a ton of points. That to me is the game.
I'm counting on the Lions fighting.
Dan and Shan.
Dan Campbell, the Lions fighting through adversity. I'm not saying the Lions are a better football team than the Niners. I'm saying they're going to come ready to play. They got the whole city of Detroit behind them, the whole United States behind them. Everybody except the
city where the game is being held.
Yeah, right. I think we're getting celebrities coming in, pulling for the Lions, buying big tickets. Hopefully there's a lot of Lions fans there. Yeah, Eminem is going to throw a concert at halftime. Yeah, man, I got to go Lions. I'm sorry.
Forget about Dan and Shay. It's Dan and Shan.
Dan and Shan. Logic would say Niners, again, probably a better team because of the defense. Got to go Lions, man. They got the heart.
All right.
For Barry.
Niners got heart too, and they should have been in the Super Bowl last year, but they got the vengeance because of the injury. So they also got heart and passion.
They didn't seem super heart or passionate last week, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Iceman.
What's up, everybody? This week's Unsung Hero goes out to an 89-year-old man in Detroit named Benjamin Capps. Benjamin Capps has been a season ticket holder for 66 years. That's right. I don't know what you were doing 66 years ago, but none of the members of this podcast were alive. Yeah. And to think about somebody being loyal to anything outside of like a marriage for that long is phenomenal. But to a team that has broken your heart over and over and over again is incredible to hear stories like Benjamin Capps getting honored by the Detroit Lions with a special jacket at the 40-year mark. And then 26 years later, he's still in his exact same seats to cheer them on as they get to the NFC Championship game in 2024. So moving forward this weekend, hey, maybe you haven't decided who you're cheering for, but let me tell you, Benjamin Caps will be cheering for the Lions, as will I. Shout out to you, Mr. Caps, showing us what loyalty really looks like in the sports world. You're this week's Unsung Hero.
Do it for Benjamin Caps. Come on, baby.
The one thing I got to disagree with you on, Trey, is you said his heart was broken over and over again. It's the hope that kills. We said that earlier, I guess, in the last episode. The Lions haven't had a lot of hope in the last couple of years. Last 66 years.
They did have Barry Sanders, which is a huge hope.
You're right.
And unfortunately, it's super unfortunate he never won the Super Bowl, because I'm going to go on air right now and say Barry Sanders is the best running back of all time. And it's a shame that he was on the Lions for his entire career.
I guess so. Well, let's do drafts then.
Let's draft them.
First up, we're going to do 2 drafts. You get the first pick in the first draft. Special teams, we're going kicker, punter, long snapper, kick returner, punt returner. Who you got?
Super excited to have first pick in this draft. Easy pick, Justin Tucker, kicker. 66-yard field goal, longest in NFL history, to win a game at that. And he's the most accurate kicker in NFL history, so I think that's clear-cut number 1.
First pick for me, I'm going to do a kick returner, and I'm being a little strategic here. I'm going Deebo Samuel. Obviously, love him. He's not necessarily the best kick returner this year, but that also gives another receiver on my team without having to draft one. And get the volume up. We saw what he did in college. The man's a crazy good kick returner. And then for punt returner, I'm going to go Darius Davis. He was averaging 16 yards of punt return with 24 returns. It's pretty good volume for that. 6 returns of 20-plus yards. Obviously, a touchdown. Stud. He can be number 2 on the kick return also.
Okay. Yeah, the Deebo pick is huge because I didn't even have that on my radar, and I totally should have. Man, that is real tough. All right, got to go punter here, I guess. Let me go. I got to go AJ Cole for the Raiders. All-Pro this year. Best in the league. All right, now that I got a punter and a kicker, and you've already got kick return and people have been pointing out that we need to start drafting in order like that, so you can't steal my drafts.
Even though
it was still strategic.
The one that they're
time.
pointing out, we still have. The one mistake was cornerback. When they keep being like, why'd you pick a quarterback? Someone else has already done that. It's like, well, everything else was already locked up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. But I got to go Ross Matzik for the Jags. Another All-Pro. Got to put him down there to snap the ball. Perfect every time.
So now I'm free to pick anything because you've already picked the rest. Everyone.
Do your damage.
I'm going to go ahead and do... I don't love the Cowboys, but I'm going to ride the Cowboys with kicker and punter. I'm going to go Brandon Aubrey at kicker and then Brian Anger at punter.
I like that. Brandon Aubrey, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, and who knows? I'm not saying he's Justin Tucker yet, but he might move in that direction. You never know.
I thought about him because he was lights out this year.
You have to go Justin Tucker. I knew that was pick one.
Yeah, if I have pick one, I'm going Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I wasn't even surprised. Or sad.
The only thing with him is the fact that it's only been 1 year. But other than that, I mean, dude's a beast. Now I got kick return and punt return. I'm going kick return. I'm going to be strategic as well. I'm going to go Devon Achane. Fast. And yes, he did return a kick this year.
That's a great pick.
Yep. So fast. I got another fast running back to add to Derrick Henry and McCaffrey.
That's a really good
back
pick.
there. That's a dangerous man to try to guard on a kick return. And then punt return, I got to stay strong to South Carolina and go Keyshawn Nixon, another All-Pro. We're picking that, man. Really good season this year. So you let me get 4 All-Pros? I don't know who won the special teams this one. 4 All-Pros and Devon Achane. You did get Deebo, though, which is huge.
Yeah, I'll take this draft just to get Deebo.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then for long snapper, I'm going to go the NFLPA's All-Pro, Morgan Cox, for the long snapper.
All right.
Give the Titans a little bit of love.
There you go. All right, now that you've let me win the special teams draft too, we get to move on to the offensive line draft.
Defense is pretty split on social media.
Yeah.
A lot of people just think we're idiots all around the board.
Yeah,
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, we pick the best players in the NFL and we're all idiots. So
I'm going to go ahead and tease it. The grand plan for this, we are doing this. We're going to do a coaching staff next week. You also got the first picks in a lot of these favorable drafts. Throwing that out there.
You're right.
Then we're going to go draft the rest of the roster. So we'll have a 53-man roster. We're going to put it in Madden, simulate a game. We're going to watch it together, get a little live reaction, make a YouTube video out of it. So all of that's what's to come from this. So all that to say, Madden's going to tell us who actually won all of this. You can feel great with your little pride right now, feeling like you won this. We'll see.
Wow,
but
you're
anyway.
getting salty in this episode.
Yeah, I am salty. It's because you were making me sweat so much during the 49ers.
I'm sorry,
segment.
man. You know I actually kind of like the 49ers, but I just got to pull for the Lions in this one, man. I'm sorry.
Tell my classmate you said that.
Sorry, Debo. Big fan.
First up is me in the O-line draft. You know I'm doing it, sticking with the theme of the 49ers.
Yeah.
Trent Williams going number 1 overall. Future Hall of Famer, no doubt.
I didn't even write him down.
Because he knew it was going.
Yeah, I knew there was no need. Since you let it off with the left tackle, I'm going to lead it off with a right tackle. I'm going Penei Sewell, number 1 pick overall. Number 2, I'm taking the highest graded guard. I'm taking Chris Lindstrom. That's my second pick. Highest graded guard.
All right, you took right tackle, right guard. So we've got center and left guard open on this. Oh, man. I'm going to go Joe Thuney. Get me a 2023 All-Pro. Obviously, he's great on Madden. That's going to play into that there. He's healthy right now in this dream world. I think Joe Thuney is a good pick there. Then center. Obviously, if I was going to go with the vibes, Jason Kelsey's not retired at this point, but I'm going to go Frank Ragnow.
Okay.
I'm going to take a lion there.
All right. My next pick, since it doesn't matter, you can't steal any of my picks anymore. I'm going left guard at Tyler Smith from the Cowboys. Beast of a left guard, All-Pro this year. Pretty high rated. Center, since you left him up there, I'm picking Jason Kelsey.
He's coming out of retirement for you.
He's just extending his playing season because this is still from this season.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, because you let me take the Eagles O-line.
This is spring ball. It's spring ball that we're playing here with our dream team.
You let me take the Eagles O-line in the first draft, so I have to get Kelsey from this. And
because that was the reason you did take the Eagles O-line.
Right, exactly. So I figured he was still in play.
Last 2 picks, the right side, got to finish it out. I'm going to go guard, Zach Martin, tackle, Lane Johnson.
That's pretty good. All right, since your left tackle is from your favorite team, I got to pick a left tackle from my favorite team. I'm going Teron Armstead from the Dolphins as my left tackle.
We got some good rosters there. I'm excited to see how coaching goes. That's going to be interesting.
So what's your line? Read them out. Let's hear them.
Trent Williams, Joe Thuney, Frank Ragnow, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson. You got Teron Armstead, Tyler Smith, Jason Kelsey, Chris Lindstrom, Penei Sewell. I mean, they're both good.
Both good lines. I mean,
both good.
Yeah. Both good lines. I think you might have me on this one slightly.
Wow, I'll take that. I'll take it. But anyway, excited to see how Championship Sunday goes. Hopefully my picks hit. The Ravens win, the Niners win. Unfortunately, maybe the Super Bowl graphics right. Maybe they saw it all along and it was supposed to be purple and red.
If you notice, Joe is picking with the Super Bowl graphics. So I'm trying to go a little off the books here. A little different. Go Lions.
Hey, I don't love
pride.
I don't love that my picks were the 2 number 1 seeds, but I've been saying that for a while, so it would be ridiculous for me to not pick them because they're number 1 seeds.
Were those your preseason picks?
No, preseason was Bills, Niners, and then like mid-season was Ravens, Niners.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Pretty good overall.
Anyway, subscribe, share. Hope this episode was somewhat enjoyable. If you're still here, hopefully you liked it. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.